Hi everyone, I hope you guys are okay. It's a bit of a different view, as you can see, of my living room. It's slightly different. The reason why is because I've got my coffee table set up in the middle of the room instead of my usual laptop table. So so this is why I've had to sit on the floor to be able to do this. But anyway, enough about the, the different shot. What I'm here to talk about is a book that I've been reading over the past few weeks, which is Filth by Irvine Welsh. Now, this is the first Irvine Welsh book I have ever read, and I really decided to take my time with reading it for multiple reasons. Thus, it's taken me, but I think it's 3 weeks to finish it. Um, the reason, not because it's bad at all, because it's excellent. It's an exquisite piece of work, but because of two main reasons. One, the Scottish dialect in this. Now, with me, I'm okay with reading dialect. You know, that's not really an issue. But with this, he writes it as a really thick Scottish dialect, and he uses modern Scottish slang as well. So I did have to spend some time reading the dialect out loud in order to know exactly what's being said and understand which words are the slang and and everything in a sentence. But that was just me. Obviously other people may find it, you could just read it straight easy, but for me, because it was a thick Scottish dialect with Scottish slang in there as well, modern slang, it took me a bit longer to process the dialogue. The actual book itself, the rest of it is written in standard text that you can see here, but when they speak is in Scottish dialect. But at the same time, this is all written from Bruce's point of view, our main character, and when he sometimes, like, he's having a rant or whatever, there will be sudden words that are thrown in there that are written in Scottish dialect. So it does appear through. In a comparison to another work of his, which my sister has read, Train Spotting, that I believe is entirely written in Scottish dialect. So, this is a kind of gentle introduction to Irvine Welsh and his Scottish dialects. When I come to read Train Spotting, I'll be a bit more prepared. And the other reason is because that it's taken me a while to read this is because of what happens in this book. So before I expand on that, I better tell you what the book is about. So this book follows a man called Bruce Robinson, who is a policeman in Edinburgh. And the word filth covers many different areas, because you have the filth of society that you can interpret your own way. There's filth in regards to how Bruce feels about himself, how he portrays himself as well, and filth is also a slang for police. So that they're the main things. And Bruce has Bruce, it's really hard to describe without giving too much away. But yeah, he works for the police in Edinburgh. He's up for a promotion, and he's absolutely adamant that he is the only one who's going to get it, and he is going to tear down his colleagues in order to make sure that he gets the position. But at the same time, Bruce has a lot of issues with members of society, with women, with his colleagues, issues with his wife Carol and his daughter, issues with every single person, and he has a complex about being in power. So I describe it like that because if I go any more in depth, I'm going to reveal something that I don't want to reveal, because it's a great part of the book as you read it, in case there's anybody who wants to read it, who's watching this video. I have I was reading this book, and it opens with a really horrific murder, and I was really taken aback by it. It was like, whoa, geez. And we see things like um, people making pornographic videos, rape, um, racism at its worst level. Uh, Bruce himself, yeah, he's sexist, he's racist, he has issues with drugs and alcohol. He's into erotic asphyxiation. He's the worst possible person you could ever imagine in existence, basically. And I think me using those words to describe him is putting it mildly. Um, he's just, oh gosh, he is awful. As the book goes on, we learn things about him via a voice that you never would have expected. And this voice is a tapeworm that is living inside of him. And at first, you just see the tapeworm just kind of pops up and basically says, "Eat, Bruce, eat." And the way that it appears is like this, where you'll have Bruce in the background here is having a rant about something or go on about something of no importance at that time. But the tapeworm is slap bang in the middle and is revealing all of this information about him. Now, as it goes on, also you have this thing. Oh, there we go. That's one of his first appearances there. And he's saying, "Eat, eat, I'm alive, I'm soft and I am weak, must grow, I must eat, I must grow strong." So at first he's just saying to Bruce, "Eat, eat, eat," and get into Bruce's subconscious. But then after a while, he begins to reveal things about Bruce. And I went from being this reader who was so taken aback by our protagonist and thinking, but he's this awful man. What the? Oh God, he's terrible. But then when we learn things about him, I was just so broken-hearted for Bruce. I'd never anticipated that I would grow to really like him and feel sorry for him and want to give him a great big hug. It sounds bizarre, but you do. And this technique of using a tapeworm growing inside of Bruce, because the whole link of filthy and disgusting and the plague inside of you that you may not want to acknowledge. It's just such a clever technique. Irvine Welsh's characterization is superb. Absolutely superb. The characters are so believable, and it's one of those things that Bruce, because he's the person who is narrating this book, is from his point of view. Bruce swears a lot, and when I say a lot, I mean probably on average, probably twice a sentence. If you get a sentence where he is not swearing, you know something is wrong. Seriously, there's something wrong. So this inner turmoil that he has and how it explodes out on the page is extraordinary. And he is an artist of manipulation as well. Oh God, I don't know how else to describe him without giving too much away. But there's like, I just thought I'd read you a little bit of this just to give you a kind of idea about him. So this is a bit where one of his colleagues has gotten into a situation, who is up for promotion as well. And it's this guy, Dougie Gilman, is speaking to him. He went, "I don't know if you heard," he tells me, "but Clell tried to top himself this morning, jumped off the Dean Bridge. The news sends me into an excited rapture. Even more thrilling that Claire attempted suicide is the thought that he must have been so miserable to try, and that by failing, he's merely succeeded in humiliating himself, and the pain will still be there. How did it make you feel? I tried to compose myself, to convert my feelings into a horrified shock, but I can't hide the glee, and don't really have to try too hard, as Gilman is more than complicit. What happened? I coughed. The trees broke his fall, but he smashed his hip to pieces. He's in the Princess Margaret Rose Hospital. They're operating on him in the morning. A hip replacement. Is that all? I asked. Amanda Drummond has moved alongside me with a huge card which has been signed by everyone. I thought that was enough, she said coldly. Of course, I didn't mean it that way, I protest convincingly, making her look a bit petty for suggesting that I did. Let me sign the card. It's all a bit of a shock. It's just that he got the dream moved to traffic. I can't take it in. Of course it is. I'm sorry, Drummond said. I wasn't implying. Is there a collection? Karen and I are collecting, she says. I thought as much. Nursemaid and mental cripple while neglecting your duties. Carry on feather-bedding vegetables. It's only a murder that we're trying to solve here. It's like, God. So he is, yeah, because Clell, he's so excited that this guy has gone from the situation, and it was something that he didn't have to take care of. But there's also like other things he does. Like there's this sequence where he's on a plane to Amsterdam, and he's speaking, quite. I'm trying to think what the word is. Quite a disturbing language, and across the aisle is a man, woman, and their child, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, mate. And he thinks, oh, I'm going to get you for that. And he then confronts the man in the toilets because they're changing planes, and says, by the way, I'm an undercover cop, and we were just having that conversation because the two guys in the seats in front of me are actually in the child porn industry, and you've just cocked up our investigation. And he convinces him to go over and beat the crap out of these two men. It's just, his art of manipulation is just astonishing. That he is really sick and twisted at the same time. And another bit that was just astonishing, it links back to his past, that in village where he lived when he was a kid, there was a certain man there who he knew and respected, and this man didn't recognise him in the street, and so he has him arrested because he wants to. He's sick, he's twisted, he's into erotic asphyxiation. He will screw anyone around. I'm not just talking about sex here. I'm talking about, because he finds it so much fun to take somebody, stick a knife in them, and twist it, metaphorically, to see what they'll do in a situation. He's also, it is implied, he always goes to Amsterdam and Vietnam each year, which implies that he's possibly not, it's not ever fully said, but possibly that he's had sex with underage girls before, in his past and such. He's the worst kind of human being ever, but he's so wonderful at the same time. That's a really weird word to use, but the reason why I say that is because of the brilliance, the genius of Irvine Welsh, and how he's taken this person who is the worst thing I can think of ever, and kind of puts you in your place for judging him, but he judges everybody else as well. It's all about compulsion and the destruction of man and the sick, twisted side of our society, and that we don't look at. And I think, because you think of Irvine Welsh's other works like Trainspotting and such, he has a way of conveying these stories, obviously about fictional people, but they're not fictional. They are in our society. They are there. We just won't look at it. But he has written this. This is so dark, yet funny, yet shocking, yet disgusting, yet wonderful, yet tragic, yet everything under the sun. It is just astonishing. And I'm sorry if I haven't conveyed, I haven't said this very well, but it's so hard. I think if you read it, you understand what I mean. That there's so much hard stuff going on in this book that trying to convey how wonderful a book it is so difficult. But Irvine Welsh is a genius. Bruce is unapologetic, and sometimes you kind of need a character like that in the world. And I love that those kind of characters, these kind of situations that we have, can occasionally pop up in books, but they're like over there. They're shoved to the side. They're very rarely brought up, and this is just smacked across your face, and it's extraordinary, and I loved it. And because of a scene to do with making a pornographic video that involves the Archers theme tune, I will never listen to the Archers theme tune in the same way again. I'm sorry. I even listened to Archers Omnibus earlier today because I'm 2 weeks behind, so I've been catching up on the Archers Omnibus this morning. And as soon as the music started, all I could visualise was that pornographic tape, and I was nearly in stitches because it was so ridiculous what was going on in that scene. Ridiculous, the chaos of Bruce filming that scene, and ridiculous of that was what popped into my head as soon as I started hearing the theme tune. But I swear I'm not going to be able to listen to that theme tune ever again in the same way. It's insane. But yeah, it's full of booze, full of drugs, full of sex, full of murder, full of racism, full of sexist views, full of heartbreak and turmoil, and it is brilliant. Okay, that's all I can think of. It's an epic story, and that's all I can think of to say without revealing things that happened in this book. So yeah, sorry if that wasn't a great review, but it's how I am able to convey how I feel without giving stuff away. But it is a masterpiece, an absolute masterpiece on how you write such a world, have such great characterization, the techniques of using the tapeworm, and a subtle thing. This isn't giving anything away, but those who have read the book, including my sister, will know what I mean by his use of the words I, which become us, which become we. You'll understand if you've read the book. But his subtlety of using that was just extraordinary, and I loved it. Thank you, Irvine, for writing this book. I will definitely read more of your work. Now, the film, Filth. If you saw the video that my sister did with me on James McAvoy's films and such, we went over this. Now that I have read the book, it still holds up as a respectable adaptation. But as I understand now, having read the book, with what my sister and I discussed, is that Hollywood, they have the ability to go dark. They will go dark, but they have a limit. Whereas the book is the deepest, darkest book I have read. This is really light compared to what happens in this book. It conveys the characters, I think, well. James's performance as Bruce is fantastic, especially with scenes where he's starting to lose control of situations. The tapeworm isn't featured in the film. Instead, it's kind of hallucinatory images that he sees of his psychiatrist. His psychiatrist there is sort of a psychiatrist element in it, especially with his doctor, Dr. Rossi, but not to like it is in here, because his psychiatrist is the tapeworm in the book. So yes, they had to convey it in another way. The cast of this are absolutely fantastic. It tells a story well. Yes, there are things that they've changed, that they've taken out, which is understandable, but I still like it. The use of the phrase, which is very prominent in this book, which once you've read it, you'll understand what it means, of same rules apply, is great. They really follow through with it. The use of, in the book as well as the film, the use of Carol and her chapters and such. I'm so glad that they used her chapters in the book properly into the film, because without it, it wouldn't have worked the way that it does without Carol being an element there. The ending, I cried my eyes out at Filth, the film. I was really taken aback by it, because it is a very emotional story. But yeah, the last chapter of the book, the film doesn't play that very well. But the book, it felt like I've been slammed over the head with a sledgehammer. I was so shocked by it, and how, even though I knew it was coming because I'd seen the film, because of how it plays out in the book, it's slightly differently. It's slightly different, should I say. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And the shocker is, yeah, it just, wow. What a way to end a book. It was, yeah, extraordinary. So yeah, this film, it plays it out very well. The actors are all really great. There are a couple of actors I kind of think, really, even when I saw it, but they did okay. But now that I've read the book, I understand their characters a lot more, and I feel a lot more for them. So I think the film for me has grown stronger because I've read the book, even though there are changes from the book, which sounds insane, I know, but it's the understanding of the characters, because this film is only like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. Oh no, an hour and 35 minutes. So it's not a long film at all. So to be able to, there are so many characters, so to be able to understand all those characters and go through this epic story in that short space of time is very hard. So yeah, I feel more of a connection and an understanding of character after reading the book. But still, the film is excellent. The book is astonishing. I really strongly recommend this book to anyone, but be aware it's extremely dark. You're gonna read some stuff that is really hard to handle, but it's pure brilliant, and Irvine Welsh, I applaud you for writing this. It is astonishing. Okay guys, that's all I can think of to say on Filth. So have you guys read this book? I'd love to know what you think. You can leave your comments in the comments box below, or give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, entirely up to you. I'll let you decide. And as usual, I'll be back in a separate video to announce what book I will be reading next, which will be non-fiction. Alright then guys, bye!